In this epic battle of the game's best backs, Saquon Barkley offering the last laugh off the right side for 25 yards, plodding his way to 100+ once again. Barkley, a decisive blow in this one as the Eagles maintain their win streak, now 8 in a row, 10-2 on the season, and a statement cross-conference, 24-19, Philadelphia taking down Baltimore. The Ravens struggling to put points on the board in the second half. Philly flying high in a big-time win on Sunday. In studio, Joe Musso alongside Bryant McFadden. BMAC, we're going to get out to the site in just a second. Tony Romo standing by. First thought goes to you here. I mean, we're swinging the axe all day at an oak tree that won't fall. Saquon finally gets it to.
And listening to Saquon, their post-game presser with Tracy, he gave his shots out to Kellen Moore, coming up with a great game plan against the Ravens. But he also stated something that was very, very pivotal in their success. He said they stuck with the running game. When you stick with the running game, when you have a running back like Saquon Barkley, along with a +1 at the quarterback position in Jalen Hurts, eventually the breakthrough will happen. And we saw that in the second half, and that has been their calling card for success the entire season, being patient with the running game and allow Saquon to do what he's been called to do, which is break off big-time runs, shots out to their offense, and being patient and wanting to run the football with their best one, with one of the best running backs in the National Football League.
And he does it again on a night where the forward pass eluded the Eagles at moments. Lean on the star back, now 100+ 8 times, which matches a single-season franchise record. The new guy on the block, not new no more, putting his name all over those record books. For more, we get you back out to the site where Tony Romo is standing by with his thoughts on this battle of the backs as it was billed. Tony, great to see you as always. Felt like first half this was adjustment, counter-adjustment, coaches moving pawns. What was the adjustment that decided this game in your eyes?
I really think just the situational football. I mean, to me, it came down to which quarterback on the big third down to Goddard. Later in the game, you all of a sudden saw them just throw a shallow cross. But those are the plays. In these big games, it comes down, you know, to the little things, the fundamentals, the details. And both teams are so evenly matched in so many areas. It's going to come down to a play, a player. And obviously the kicking made a big part, you know, of the outcome here today. But the running backs, they both showed out. But I felt like Philly had the ability to have that ball with the lead and kind of stay more disciplined in it, whereas Baltimore had to come back and try. And it was just like stuff just didn't go their way. A sack here, a play there, and all of a sudden you lose.
You know, we try and avoid talking about the K game much here, but certain moments, certain days, it just injects itself right into the middle of the conversation.
Especially with the GOAT.
Exactly, and that's the point here, is that Justin Tucker, if anybody's going to figure it out, it's that man. He's working the two-way miss right now. The question becomes, what does that struggle personally do for that room? Any concern in that regard?
Well, it's always a struggle. I mean, now when you're talking about like maybe the best who's ever done it, you give him a lot bigger leash, a lot more leeway. And I know, like you saw Harbaugh on the screen, he goes over and hugs him. And in some ways that, you know, is, you're fine, buddy. I got your back, which I think is huge. But, you know, it's always going to be about the team. And so I think that he's just got to show some semblance of consistency for a 2-game stretch where it's like, our guy's back. Now, you know, I don't think they're going to go bring in, but it is a bye week. They might test out kickers, which would be a huge blow, you know, just to have kickers come in on the bye week. But that's normal. That would be a normal occurrence for an NFL team. I'm still trusting Justin Tucker right now. I just want to see just that little semblance, find something, give me something to just believe that that two-way miss turns into one-way, and then you can solve it.
What is it? You pick a shot shape, you eliminate one side of the golf course. That's the decision he makes here. We'll see. It was.
I'm still trying to do that.
It was the right to left that plagued him early. One miss left to right late in this game as well. Tony, we'll get back to the football here for a moment because, again, these two backs have distanced themselves from the rest of the league, and Saquon Barkley has been the hallmark of this Eagles offense. Moving forward, with a running back that's been that effective, do you have any concern that not one-dimensional, but when the pass game is called upon and you are in a different game script giving chase, that this team has exactly what it needs to chase down the Lions, per se?
Well, they do. I mean, you got to remember Smith wasn't out here today, and so when they got him back and A.J. Brown, you normally would have had to bring the safeties down a lot more in this game, because you can just keep one safety over here. The other side can come down and help in the run game and just fit the gaps a little bit better for the quarterback run game. And but to me, you know, that's why Baltimore had a little bit of advantageous position in obvious passing downs. And I think they could have probably stuck to the run a little bit more when they got to the run-pass option game and the run zone read option stuff. That was the difference, where it was like you just are a hair late all the time. But when you put Smith out there, these guys are going to be one-on-one. And when they run across the field and that safety's down, these are going to be 25, 30-yard plays, if not touchdowns. So I just think they're built for success in the playoffs, because you want to be able to run the ball. You'd rather have the ability to be like, hey, we'll get the passing game going when our receivers get healthy, instead of being like, we can't run the ball. So to me, they're going to be fine. It's just styles make fights.
We filtered these results in a number of ways. Still undefeated with A.J. Brown on the field. Leaning on the run in this one, it was what was required. Tony Romo on a holiday week pulling double duty. We appreciate you as always, pal.
Great double duty. Great week of football.
Awesome. Outstanding finishes here. Tony Romo offering his thoughts on HQ as we take a look at Lamar numbers. Now, this was an offense that was held scoreless until a late one in garbage time to get that onside kick. So we don't filter it through the no second half scores, but it was an offense that went dormant after taking a 9-0 lead, outscored the rest of the way. Lamar losses against NFC teams. They are rare, they are few, and there they are. Back in studio, Mac, this was, again, the battle of these two running backs, and obviously second half specific advantage Saquon Barkley. To do it is one thing. To do it against the top run stop in the league tells you what right now about not just Saquon, but the entire run game of the Eagles.
They're playing on a high level right now. When you have a guy like Saquon Barkley, who's one of the more gifted, talented running backs in the National Football League, and you put him up behind a well-organized offensive line, no question you're going to see magical things happen. But this was the ultimate litmus test because of what you stated in terms of the Ravens' run defense in numbers. Statistically speaking, what they've done a really good job. The issue has been the secondary play, but the first two level of defenders have done a really good job. But when you talk about Saquon Barkley, I will continue to reiterate, they stay patient with the running game. You have to stay patient and keep punching, because at some point in time, the opposing defenders they will give way. And that's what we saw, because if you look at the numbers, Jalen Hurts had 19 passing attempts. 19 passes, right? 11 and 19 was his numbers. It was about the running game. Yeah. Not to mention Jalen Hurts had 9 rushing attempts also in a rushing touchdown.
They stress the strength, not the weakness. Very interesting.
You got to be patient, because you can't turn your back on the running game if it's not working in a quarter or if it's not working in a half, because you get away from what your identity has been. The Eagles offensively, their identity has been about number 26. It's like going to a concert to see your favorite band perform. You want to see the lead singer. The lead singer for the Philadelphia Eagles offense has been Saquon Barkley. So regardless of where they're playing that particular day, you want to see the lead singer get the microphone and take off. Guess what? He was taking off today, and kudos to Kellen Moore, because how many times have we watched ball week in and week out? Offensive coordinators do what? They turn their back on the running game, especially when you have a high-level player at the running back position. And speaking of turning your back on the running game, the Ravens. Why? Every time in terms of the Baltimore Ravens, when you talk about playing against good on good, they somehow find a way to efface their best running back out of the game plan.
KC last season.
Pittsburgh weeks ago.
Pittsburgh.
I just talked about how patient the Eagles were in terms of running the football. Saquon Barkley finished with 23 totes for 107 yards, over 4.7 yards average. Derrick Henry only had 19, and I understand some people might say, well, 19 it's a pretty hefty workload for a running back. Yeah, for most, but for Derrick Henry, he needs to be in the 20-plus range. He needs to see every game. Yeah. It should be a written rule in the Baltimore Ravens facility. Derrick Henry has to get 26 touches, period. If 26 happens with 20 touches, running the football and 6 catches, I can care less. But when he's getting the football, they're better offense. Don't take the ball out of his hands, because I understand they lost this ball game. But it seemed like the game was 14-12 for the majority of this ball game. Eagles way. Now, when you factor in those things, no question. Because if I'm playing against the Baltimore Ravens, if you're telling me you're going to have Lamar Jackson throw the football 36 times, that's what we want.
The compound wear of Derrick Henry has to be there. Even if it's little by little, by the fourth quarter, you're not going to want to tackle that guy.
No!
And they take
it's
the Eagles,
cold outside.
They take the Eagles off the hook on this one.
You don't want to tackle someone who's 6'3", 250, who's running 4'4", and it's 20 degrees outside. My hands are frozen. I don't want to hit a wide receiver, better yet, a 6'3", 250, depending on who the wide receiver is.
Yeah.
If it's a bigger guy, you're like, okay, I got to. But, you know, little guy, you want to wrap up. But I'm just saying, when it gets cold outside, that's why you went and got Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Because when they went and got Derrick Henry, the first thing we all said, this team was already great in running the football. Now they become greater because Derrick Henry is different, but in the months of December and January football, when the temperatures get below frigid, you got to tackle him for 4 quarters? No, they do this all the time.
Not to belabor the point, and you got to stay there in the run game, but the K game was an issue in this one as well. In a 2-point loss, Justin Tucker left 6 on the field against Pittsburgh. In a 5-point loss, he leaves 7 on the field in this one. He does have a longer leash to figure it out, but do they start looking elsewhere? Be interested to see how they handle that aspect of their game. We got other games coming final here as we take a look at some numbers. Most 20-yard rushes for touchdowns in a second half. Again, attrition. You wear them, you wait, and then you pop. Saquon does again, 25 in this instance, a massive touchdown. His 6th such rush in the second half this season.